Next, we have cases. The cases in this study are countries, and so far I have created one, which is Indonesia. A case has attributes. So attributes are the the characteristics, the socio-demographic variables, or the characteristics of the place or the organization. And again, you want to store the type of information here that you think can be useful for your analysis. So if we're talking about persons, we would typically store information like gender, age, maybe profession, and all the kind of information like ethnicity, if this is going to be relevant for your project, or religious orientation, if this is going to be relevant for your project. So this kind of information you can store as attributes of the cases. This can be important because later, again, when you're going to do searches, you can ask questions like, okay, what do media articles say about countries where um, about low income countries, for instance, or what do media articles say about poverty in high income countries, etc. So let's take the case of Indonesia here. Um, if we right click on Indonesia and we go to case properties here, case properties, so here below, we can see that under general, there's a name for the case. You can give a description, but we can also attribute values. Case classifications work in the same way as file classifications. This means that they tell you what kind of case this is. So this Indonesia is a country. It's a case of the type country. You could also have cases of the type person or organization. Yeah? So these case classifications is also something that we can make. So if you look at the values here, so these are the attributes, right? One attribute I already made before is the OECD classification. So as I said, we have low, middle, high income countries. Yeah? And we can now assign a value for Indonesia. Okay. Let's say we want to make another attribute. So click on New Attribute. You first have to give a name to the attribute as such, and then you have to give a value. Yeah? So we might be interested in knowing the difference between countries that have been hit hard by COVID-19 or not so hard. So we can create COVID impact as an attribute and give it values. So by default, it gives you the possibility to have unassigned as a value, but you can also add. So we have COVID impact, it can be high, medium, or low. Yeah, we have now created values for the attribute COVID impact. Okay. So here again, you can now assign these values to this particular case of Indonesia. Let's say we want to create a new case. Create a new case. There is two ways to do this. So we can either right click here in this empty space, or we can go to create above on this step, create a case. So let's also create a case for China. Okay, oh, sorry, that didn't have to appear under Indonesia. So it appeared as a child case under Indonesia, and so it should actually be on the same level. So I cut it and I paste it next to Indonesia. So again, if we look now at China case properties, so you go to case properties, you can attribute the values. You first have to say, okay, China is a country. Yeah? And then you can again attribute these values. Yeah? Okay. So let's look here now under case classification. Yeah, I said under case classification, you have the type of case, which is a country here, with the different attributes. So here you see them again, and you can also make new case classifications. Yeah, there is also a tab here for case classification. So suppose we also have persons in our study, like individual persons. We can type it here, person. But if you notice, there's also here the possibility to add a predefined classification to the project. So if you click this and you add a person, yeah, it will appear as a new case classification with a number of attributes that are standardly defined by the program. So name, sex, age group, etc. If you want to define those yourselves, it's maybe better to create a new case classification yourself and to um, create attributes yourself. Okay. Um, sorry here. So, okay, we can go to the Home tab again. Now we can also get an overview, a table with an overview of the different cases. So if you go to the Home tab and you look under case classification, what you can do is to open, it's called a classification sheet. So if you open the classification sheet for country, you will see this table where you see the cases in the left column here with the attributes here. And so this gives you an overview. And so as you can notice, the information that's there, it's the information that I fed into the program. So as long as you do not assign these values to these different cases, it will not appear here. But so this gives you an overview, and you can also here change those. You can also change the values very easily from here. So that's the basics for cases. Over to you now.